Following the first sprint weekend of the season in China, another one is scheduled for Miami, and it will be the first time the track around Hard Rock Stadium has hosted the action-packed two-race event. But there will also be plenty of struggles and problems for the drivers in Miami. As we saw last season, the Miami International Autodrome is a difficult track to master, and errors in both qualifying and racing can really throw things off. Add it to a format that only involves one practice session, and teams must connect everything right immediately. And there seem to be more problems on the horizon for the drivers this weekend, and it all has to do with the track surface, which we'll get into in a bit. First, based on their experiences at the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix, Formula One teams have discounted the possibility of using special sprint-only car setups on double race weekends. The Shanghai round was the first to use F1's new sprint format, with Parc limitations on car changes lifted between the two Saturday sessions. This allowed teams to run extremely experimental setups in shorter races, particularly for cars starting outside the top 10 on the grid. But in practice, competitors felt any modifications they could make were more constrained, even if they were aggressively optimistic. We had a lot of those discussions coming into the event regarding rear wing level setup, etc., said Aston Martin performance director Tom McCullough. But ultimately, doing a 19-lap sprint stint is still hard, and you can't really make too big a change compared to the main race. McCullough also indicated that the sprint to GP changes made by F1 teams in China were really more significant than the tweaks done elsewhere to enhance in-race tyre wear for longer races. This is due to the Shanghai track's changed surface and the team's lack of experience with the new ground effect cars at that venue before to the weekend. "It was maybe bigger here just because we've not been here for so long," he said. "The 2019 cars when we were last here had rear ride heights 3 times the rear ride heights we are running now, and the stiffness of the car, everything's so different, the tyres, the aero. We all simulated and prepared, and the track grip itself was maybe worse. More rear limiting than in the past, which I think we kind of predicted just to have these tyres and how the generation of cars are working." Aston sort of walked where we thought, you get one run in FP1, bang, you make some changes before sprint quali. But after the sprint race really, you learn the most in high fuel long running, a 30-odd kg long run you learn. And then we were like, right, what's going to happen when we put another 70 kilograms of fuel in, which are the tyres we're going to have to look after? What do we need to do? Bang, make some changes. They weren't big changes really. Everyone up and down the pit lane would have made those changes. Haas's Nico Hülkenberg's sprint setup actually made the car worse over the Shanghai weekend, according to Haas team principal Ayao Komatsu. Hülkenberg dropped from 13th to last in the sprint before the American team was able to return to a tried-and-true strategy, and he scored a point in the GP. McLaren team chief Andrea Stella believes this reopened Parc Ferme will undoubtedly be used for tuning the balance of the car, but warns that sometimes this could be large changes if you see you are significantly off. He continued, "The possibility to reopen Parc Ferme after the sprint has 2 implications. The first one is that the weekend is slightly more forgiving. Because if you got some ride heights wrong, or you see that the balance needs adjustments based on the tyre behaviour for instance, you can do it. And this, at the same time, I think allows you to be slightly more aggressive in the first place in terms of what direction to take, or, for instance, in terms of ride heights, because you can compensate. And we actually, from a purely engineering point of view, found this interesting because we had the opportunity to see the balance in the sprint. Obviously, if there were some silver bullets, we would have deployed them already. So, we talked about not much more than some fine-tuning. But it's interesting from an engineering point of view that you can do it. This change for us is very welcome. The new format might bring trouble for some teams, but that isn't all there is to be worried about for the teams. As the track's surface in Miami has been a major talking point, following surface breakup issues and a lack of grip in 2022, which forced Hermann Tilke's team to resurface it in 2023. However, the fresh asphalt did not much improve conditions, as drivers once again complained about a general lack of grip, particularly when running offline. There is some optimism that a more weathered surface may improve for this year, but another factor to consider is providing a better support race package, which will provide more rubber on the track for the F1 cars. Miami GP president Tyler Epp said, "We have had conversations with the FIA and F1 about trying to get a little more rubber laid onto the racetrack prior to the F1 cars going out. That's something we're looking into for next year. We'll try to make it the very best environment possible, but it was almost 2 seconds better. and we saw an increased number of passes, including a pass for the lead. Epps said after last year's race, and luckily for the F1 drivers, there will be 2 supporting races throughout the weekend which will be able to lay enough rubber on track so that the drivers will hopefully enjoy a Miami race with proper grip levels. This resurfaced and rubbered track will hopefully treat us with some exciting racing, and according to paddock journalists, we'll see a lot of improved teams this weekend. But before we dive into that, what are your thoughts on the revised sprint format? And what about the Miami race? Let me know in the comments down below. So far, Ferrari has been the closest rival to Red Bull for 2024, and the only team to win a race other than the world champions. However, McLaren and Mercedes are also set to bring their most significant improvement packages of the season to Miami this weekend, seeking to regain ground on Ferrari and, by extension, Red Bull. Mercedes technical director James Allison has expressed hope that the new parts for this weekend would provide them with the fractional advantages needed to win further grid positions in an extremely tight qualifying field. Mercedes technical director James Allison hopes that the team's enhancements for this weekend's Miami Grand Prix would help them improve their positions in the 2 qualifying sessions. We head from China, one of the most famously front-limited circuits, to Miami, a track that is more in the rear-limited end of the spectrum, Allison explained. Our challenge will be to make sure we don't try and replay China at a Miami that is a very, very different beast and wants different things from the car than China will. We face the enjoyment of another sprint weekend with this second go of having 2 bites of the cherry, and we definitely learnt during last weekend that if you're going to be ambitious in the sprint race, and then tune it down for the main race rather than the opposite way around. Hopefully we'll land a car in a better place, that the upgrades that we're going to bring to Miami serve us well in a grid that, in qualifying at least, is really close. Around the part of the battle we're fighting, a few hundredths can make a difference sometimes, and a couple of tenths would make all the difference in the world. So looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. At McLaren, team principal Andrea Stella said his team's package will target an improvement in tyre degradation, but has insisted that fans should not expect them to make the same leap forward in performance that they did with their 2 major upgrades last season. But the top teams aren't the only ones introducing upgrade, as Alpine is finally ready to enhance their 2024 Challenger. Alpine is yet to open an account for the 2024 Formula 1 season points tally. However, they came close in China. The team provided Esteban Ocon with an improved floor, and he finished 11th in the Chinese Grand Prix, narrowly outside the points. However, that was not the only indication of development for the squad. Both Ocon and Pierre Gasly advanced to Q2 in Grand Prix qualifying, the first time Gasly has moved beyond Q1 this season. I'm happy in one way and not on the other one, because it's been a really well maximised 2 days I think on our side, and we don't get the rewards that we wanted to get, Ocon said after the race. It's our best finishing position of the season, but 2.5 seconds away from that top 10. It would have been an amazing day if we were getting that. We are going to keep pushing from the next one. Hopefully get in the points, but yeah, it's a small step towards the right direction. Gasly explained what the new package meant for the team. It was quite straightforward, it's just lighter, a couple of kilos lighter, so there is weight reduction and also more downforce, more points of downforce on the car, so more grip in low, medium, high speed, described Gasly. So it's not really a difference in terms of characteristics, it's just more grip and lighter all around. It was just good to see. It's working, obviously. On my side, I'm looking forward to Miami and see what we can do with it. Either way, Miami is an unusual choice to introduce a significant set of upgrades on a car, given its temporary circuit status and the fact it is another sprint weekend. But if one of the teams come away with a bigger share of points this weekend, then it will certainly have been worth it. What are you expecting?